Okay, point number 6. This is an interesting one. The big boss stops by and asks, are we still buying from them? Now, usually the way this happens, and this is strictly intimidation. I mean, the whole purpose of it, you're sitting in the purchasing guy's office, let's say, and you're talking to him, and the owner of the company, if it's a small company, or the president or the plant manager or whoever it is, anyway, the big boss happens to go walking by and just looks in and then steps in and says something about, are we still doing business with these guys? Or I thought we'd decided that we were going to change source or something. And the whole thing is to intimidate you. They maybe stage it outside the room. Big boss goes by talking to somebody else and says, hey, isn't that sales rep in there? Doesn't he represent the Smith company? I thought we decided we weren't going to use those guys anymore. What's going on anyhow? And they go on down the hall. But what you're talking about here is strictly intimidation. They're trying to scare you. They're trying to stampede you into, you got it, cutting your price. Okay, point number 22. And this is kind of a dastardly deed, if you will. They use a shill to negotiate before the real buyer takes over. And what this fundamentally boils down to is one buyer, purchasing agent, what have you, somebody talks to you and beats on you and hammers on you and tries to cut as sweet a deal as they possibly can. And then come to find out, they turn you, the sales rep, over to another buyer. They'll say, well, you know, I've got to leave town, or I've got to do this or that, and I'm not going to be able to work with you anymore on this. I realize that we've been talking about it over the past 2 weeks, but Mary Smith is going to be taking my place, and she'll talk to you about it. I'm going to have to bow out of this because of other pressing business. Well, then Mary Smith takes over, and Mary Smith starts hammering from the get-go. And so let's say I, as the buyer, beat you down from $20 to $19, just to have some numbers. And Mary Smith comes in at $19. Well, she's going to try to beat you down from $19, and you might say, well, you know, I've already made my concession. She said, well, you know, I get paid on what I save. I mean, either you're going to have to make some concessions or we're not going to be able to do any business, back to the subjunctive mode. One of the things I'd recommend you do, when they turn you over to a new buyer, a new face, you go right back to your original point. You started at $20 with me. I got you to $19. Okay, fine. Mary Smith comes in. This is a new player. We start at $20. And she'll say, well, but I thought Larry had already got you down to $19. Well, but those conditions, there's a lot of things there that we talked about. I've got to find out what the other requirements are that you'll have. The price is $20. Now, some of the concessions that I made when you were dealing with Larry, or when I was dealing with Larry, is that he was not going to require that we individually package them. Are those, is that going to be a requirement you're going to level upon us? Because if we're going to have to individually package them, the price is going to have to go back to $20. So what you do is you just flip them back to where you were. But it's just a turnover game, and each new customer, buyer that you're talking about will start fresh against you and try to hammer you down, and they think they're going to start where the last guy left off. Well, you just pop right back up to the top and start the negotiations over again.